Hello and welcome to HITC Sport. Right, okay, let's get straight into this one. Let's take a look at the most overhyped managers to ever set foot in the Premier League of every age, from 45 to 60. I have a feeling with one or two of them, a few of you are going to be questioning my goddamn sanity. 45, Roberto Martinez. Okay, it probably doesn't help starting off with a lad who just finished third at the World Cup, but anyone who watched 5 minutes of Roberto Martinez's teams in the Premier League will know the man had style, but clearly had never opened a book on how to defend. Lifting the FA Cup with Wigan was a great achievement, and that was why his chairman was tipping him for both Real Madrid and Barcelona. But he was also the first man in 8 seasons to steer Wigan headfirst into the Championship. For Christ's sake, Roberto, even Paul Jewell managed to keep Wigan in the top flight. Yes, he might be doing well with Belgium now, but still, never trust a man who's made a career out of signing Erudo Kone on more than one occasion. 46, Brendan Rodgers. Now don't get me wrong, Brendan Rodgers is a good manager, and throwing him into Glasgow was essentially like him playing football manager against a drunk toddler. It was piss easy. But does anyone remember how the media were effectively tossing themselves senseless under a desk to a framed photo of this man the year he dragged Liverpool to second in the league?
Oh, he's Antrim's answer to Pep Guardiola. Soon he'll be following Suarez to Barcelona, future Champions League winner.
Lads, within 5 months he was signing Ricky Lambert and getting smashed 6-1 off Stoke. 47, Roy Keane. A national hero, this one was more for the Irish media. When Roy Keane stormed into Sunderland in 2006, using a tactic of fear to drag them from the bottom of the Championship to the top before keeping them in the top flight, I'm still convinced this man's main tactic was just threatening to drown their family pets if they lost the f***ing game. The media in Ireland were already claiming to be the next Messiah, the next Manchester United manager. 2 years later he was back in the Championship, sticking up the joint with Ipswich Town, and since then he's never been trusted with the #1 job in football. Probably because every chairman is just terrified this man will end up strangling their centre halves. 48, Roberto Di Matteo. Yeah, we're only 4 managers in and we're already on to our second, Roberto. Again, this man was held up as the prodigal son when he took a disinterested Chelsea side to Champions League and FA Cup glory. 6 months later he was back on the unemployment queue, lasted less than a season as Schalke, and then tragically 6 weeks at Aston Villa. The man now no doubt spends most of his days stuck at home watching that Champions League final on repeat. 49, Paul Lambert. When Paul Lambert was hired in Irish, they were at the foot of League One, having just been smashed 7-1 off his Colchester side. By the time he was done, Norwich City were sitting comfortably in the Premier League. You can't really blame people for thinking he was onto big things. He was even getting tipped with a move to Liverpool, but no, he got his move to Aston Villa instead. A subsequently managed to sap any morsel of enthusiasm out of that club, got sacked, and since then his CV is just a who's who of human disappointment, getting the bullet at Blackburn, Wolves, Stoke, and now soon to be Ipswich. 50, Slaven Bilic. Now Slaven Bilic is a good manager and will always have a place in my heart after managing to stop England from going to Euro 2008. But is he really the golden god West Ham thought he was when he guided them to 7th? Probably not. They ended up tossing the Europa League campaign out the window when they lost to a bunch of hungover postmen. Their form slid off a cliff, he was fired, and his most recent job was 5 months of ineptitude at the backarse of Saudi Arabia with Al Ittihad, where he won 3 of his 15 games. Come on, Slav. 51, Pollitz. Now you might think, what are you talking about, Irish guy? Everyone knows Pollitz can't manage his way out of a paper bag. Well, no actually, because there is a reason that Blackburn hired him in 2008. He'd done well at both Macclesfield Town and then MK Dons, and because of his name there was hype. For Christ's sake, Newcastle even wanted to sign him just 6 weeks after he'd ended up at Blackburn, with Mike Ashley clearly not yet having worked out how the contracts worked. But no, Blackburn was a disgrace. He displayed all the managerial nous of a wet condom, managing to take a club which had finished top half to the foot of the table, losing practically every game. Within a few months he was back at MK Dons with his tail firmly between his legs. Then it was Notts County, Blackpool, and 5 years of unemployment, and yet he still thinks that he could qualify Man United for the Champions League. Yeah, but he still thinks his son could play for England. 52, Owen Coyle. I almost went for a Remy Gard, a name that Aston Villa fans have probably tried to wipe from their memories. But no, Owen Coyle, a man who got Burnley promoted 10 years ago, and after a bright start, was tipped as one of the hottest managers in Britain. Apparently Celtic were even sniffing around, but no, he ended up at Bolton. 2 years later, they were relegated. And his career since then has consisted of flopping Wigan, Houston Dynamo, Blackburn, and Ross County. Poor fella. 53, Billy Davies. I know he was sacked in October, but any man who contributes to that Derby County shit show from 07-08 not only deserves to make this list, but in all honesty, should probably have spent some time behind bars. What an absolute disgrace of a team that was. And Davies, who was once tipped to be a good manager, prepared them like lambs for the goddamn slaughter. His summer transfer window before the season started consisted of Robert Earnshaw, Andy Griffin, and a fat Andy Todd. And don't even get me started on the deadline day signing of Kenny Miller. This was supposed to be preparation for their big season in the Premier League, was it? It's like instead of doing the Christmas shopping, just rummaging through your neighbour's bins for a half-empty packet of wine gums. It was like a Glaswegian mother sending her kid to a Catholic secondary school. She dyes his hair blue and sends him off with a Nacho Novo lunchbox. She'd be lucky if that kid came back alive. Something that did not happen to Derby County. 54, Michael Laudrup. Remember when Michael Laudrup steered Swansea to the League Cup trophy in 2013? Everyone thought this man was destined for big things in the game. He wasn't. He was instead destined to buff up his paycheck for doing fuck all. He instead chucked all that promise and potential down the toilet to spend the last 5 years of his life out the back arse of Qatar. 55, David Moyes. Now, I don't want to discredit David Moyes' 10 years at Everton because he did a really good job. But did he really deserve a chance at the Manchester United hot seat? Did the man who had never won so much as a raffle in his life really deserve to follow in the footsteps of Sir Alex Ferguson? A short answer, no, because within 3 years of signing that 6-year contract, he was getting relegated at Sunderland. 56, Ian Holloway. I like Ian Holloway. I mean, he's as mad as Badgers and he was a breath of fresh air that time Blackpool nearly stayed up. Almost defying all the odds, despite having a squad consisting of a fat Marlon Harewood, a Gary Taylor-Fletcher that no doubt smelt of sweat and cheese, and playing in a stadium that looked no bigger than Portaloo. But Blackpool were riding a wave that season. And I think many were caught up in just wanting to believe that Holloway was a competent Premier League manager. I mean, he wasn't. I mean, his previous job, he just steered Leicester into League One. I mean, yes, he then went and got Crystal Palace promoted, but there is a reason he left within about 20 minutes of the season starting. He's since failed at both Millwall and QPR. 57, Stephen McClaren. Oh, good lord, you want to speak about being overhyped? This man is the definition. Yes, he did well to get Middlesbrough to the UEFA Cup final in 2006. Scratch that, he had Stuart Parnaby at the back. That was a miracle. But it takes a special type of terrible to not even qualify England's golden generation for a tournament. Gerrard, Lampard, Beckham, John Terry, Rio Ferdinand. I'm sorry, how can you not even get them to Euro 2008? It's not like you were forced to pick Ross Barkley every week. So he was banished from the country and did very well with Twente, winning them the league. So fair play for that. You tricked Wolfsburg into giving you the gig. That didn't work out well. You lasted 10 games of Forest. You went back to Twente. You just ruined your legacy there. Conspired to lose the playoff final with Derby County against 10 men. Spent 60 million quid at Newcastle and still got relegated. Lad, you had Gini Wijnaldum and Moussa Sissoko in your team and you still went down. Returned to Derby and got sacked again. Went to Israel with Maccabi Tel Aviv as a consultant. Ended up at QPR where, you guessed it, the man hasn't even seen out the season. Surely that is the end of chairman trusting him with a salary. 58, Steve Bruce. Look, I like Steve Bruce. I think he's a good manager. For Christ's sake, he's been promoted more times than I've had a shower. So I'm not here to criticize him. But let's just say that I remember about 15 years ago, he was actually tipped as Fergie's successor at Old Trafford. Yeah, it's a bunch of years later and he's just a Sheffield Wednesday in the Championship. 59, Carlo Ancelotti. I'm not gonna lie, I feel dirty for including Carlo Ancelotti in the same list as Ian Holloway and Steve McClaren, but hear me out, alright? Now obviously this man was great in England and obviously is a top class manager. At the same time, I also think this fella gets a bit of an easy ride because of how many goddamn Champions League finals he's managed to appear in. Now, of course, that is a great achievement in itself, but the man has won 4 league titles in 25 years as a manager and for most of those 2 decades, he's been at Juventus, AC Milan, Real Madrid, PSG, Chelsea, Bayern Munich, and he's won 4 league titles from those 20 years. You'd think it should be at least a majority, like at least over 10. He was at the country's favourite to win, so I mean, even at PSG, he still lost that title to Montpellier. So yeah, I mean, he is one of the best managers in the world, but I think he might still be a little bit overhyped. Let me know what you think. I might be completely wrong, but 4 league titles with those massive clubs, I don't know. And he also lost the Champions League final with a 3-goal lead against Jimmy Traore. 60, Alex McLeish. Alex McLeish, it's hard to believe, but he did once have a very good reputation. In his first stint as Scotland boss, he beat France home and away. He was on the same Birmingham City shortlist as Marcello Lippi, and then he ended up at Aston Villa, having won the League Cup of Birmingham. Fast forward to the present day, and he's only managed to just get Scotland to lose 3-0 to a bunch of farmers from a country that is only famous for Sacha Baron Cohen proclaiming that they all marry their cousins. Anyway, that is the end of the video, lads. Let me know what you think. I might be too harsh, especially with Ancelotti, I don't know, but 4 league titles, I don't know, that seems to me a little bit, I don't know, to me that seems a little bit underwhelming. But let me know what you think. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to get a like, share and subscribe. Instagram and Twitter is there. And as always, I'll talk to you in a while.